I think this is going to be very helpful for a lot of people.
Hmm.
Um, the title of it is It's Not Always About You. It's not always about you. That could be a trigger phrase for some people
Mhm.
when they hear it on surface, because that's quickly what people throw at people when they're trying to make a person feel weird about caring too much about a situation. But I want us to dive a little deeper on this phrase. It's not always about you. It's not a shot at you. It's just an offering to welcome a perspective that you may be missing. Eunice, do you mind speaking on the topic of which you actually recommended it be, um, and speak on it from your perspective?
I don't take other people's lives personally. And whether that means I haven't seen them in a while, haven't spoken to them in a while, I have grown into a space where I don't think they aren't talking to me or they have not communicated with me. I think they are somewhere living the best life they know how to live. And sometimes that's being challenged. And I don't think it has anything to do with me. Now, I probably have gotten so comfortable in this space in recent years that sometimes it could potentially be about me and I wouldn't even know because I
Yeah.
assume, hey, you doing the best you can with the time you have in a day and you got XYZ. And so if you didn't call me back or if you weren't able to make yourself available for something, you and I had a conversation. It was around Christmas and I was traveling to Houston and I thought I was going to see an old friend. And I didn't hear from that friend once I got to town. I have not spoken to that person since, but you know what? And I think I told you in real time, I've gotten to the point where there's a reason why that person did not want to make themselves available to me when I was in town. Even though they knew I was going to be in town, even though we discussed me being in town, the fact that they disappeared when I was younger, I would have taken great offense. I would have had to tail them off and say, "Wow, you knew I was going to be here," and da da da. And I was there. I didn't hear from them. I left. Haven't heard from them. Like I said, this was Christmas time. And I think, I hope they're well, but, you know, I think most people who are doing well will, engage or communicate what they need to. And now I believe if they don't, that's on them. It's not on me. I don't take it personally. I think, okay, well, I hope they're doing okay in their life and whatever they're going through, hopefully, they get over it. Um, but
Hmm.
on the flip side of I don't think it's about me, I also have that accountability thing of, okay, what about this can I make mine? Okay, so if sometimes we might start counting how long we haven't heard from someone, and you have to look in the mirror and say, well, now when was the last time I reached out to them though? Sometimes we
Woo.
don't notice that, okay, then you do it, so sometimes we kind of get stuck on that rock in the middle of the ocean and we say, well, I'm not budging. And it's like, well, then that's where you are. So I
Yeah.
will sometimes have to turn that switch on and say, okay, wait now, who am I in this story? Because I
Right.
naturally assume it ain't got nothing to do with me. But hey, this might have something to do with you because they hadn't heard from you either.
I
So
like that. I like that when you said find your contribution to the matter. I think that that was actually a tool that I recently heard in a therapy session that I took part in, and I encourage any and everybody to get therapy, not to enable you, not to diagnose you as crazy, but to provide tools to process life, to weather life, to reapproach life. And one of the benefits of therapy is it also provides you a perspective that you most likely have missed or not considered. And so I think it is fair sometimes to, if it matters to you, because not all scenarios really matter. Like
right.
a person cannot call you that you don't hold that special place for in your heart. And um, they can be like, okay, well, they didn't call me. Cool.
And you know what? Not even
Um,
so much that they don't hold a special place in your heart. I'm going through a situation right now where every time I see this person, they make a comment about, I'm always out of town or I'm always busy or we need to get together. We need to get together. Right. And so last week I said, hey, I'm going to be in town the entire week. It's pretty open. Let me know. And they said, oh, okay. It'll probably be X day. And I haven't heard from them since to make a plan. I have come to the understanding of, hey, that's just something that person says about wanting to get with you. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you shouldn't take it so to heart that they really are wanting to get with you because you're making
Or
yourself available and they aren't following up with the plan. So sometimes that's just something people say, oh, we got to get together. Okay. And so when I send you my availability and then you do nothing with it, it's like, oh, okay. I took that too literal. Right.
I think one of the things that I get as a takeaway from this is that oftentimes we find out later that most of the time it's not about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very
I
rarely in
think
real
I've
time.
done
Yeah.
enough tallying of my post research and post collection of the why, post analysis, and I find that a lot of times it is not about me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it could be a scenario in their life that has taken their attention, assumed more of their time. There could have been a situation where they're dealing internally on fighting through depression. One of the most common things in the world of creatives is depression. A lot of us are functioning depressed folk. We function and move, and we can smile on carpets and all that stuff, but really be depressed or
Mm-hmm.
anxious. And you won't know unless you really dig deep into finding out what's really going on. A lot of us strong people have a performative way of presenting healed when we're sometimes broken. And so a lot of times the people externally that are used to pulling from us are expecting from us. And we know how to show up yet and still by not addressing ourselves. But the moment we decide to deal with ourselves and take time for ourselves, it gets misread. But I've learned that if I want the grace for myself, I've got to be willing to extend the grace for others more quickly and more readily, and to provide space for the possibility that this could be something else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult because, especially when your next opportunity, we know ultimately it's a God. If it's meant, it will be. If it's not, we won't
Right.
see it. It's
Right.
not ours. Um, but I'm speaking to the surface of how our industry works often, and just actually any industry really, when the next movement is predicated on the information that you receive from a certain someone, or a follow up, or an answer that you need to get from something to know how to move. Oftentimes it's very difficult to not take it personal
Mm-hmm.
when it's like, I've been communicating with this person, or I've been investing in this relationship, or I've put in a lot of time. I want to see a reciprocation. And I think it's fair for it not to be about you, and for you also to steward and properly manage the energy you give to needing to hear back from a person, to where we don't have more situations of, I'm tired of people not reciprocating what I'm giving or what
Mm-hmm.
I'm investing. So what do you say to that?
I can think of someone I've known for 25 years of my life, half my life.
Yeah.
And I've probably have communicated with them. It probably hasn't been 25 times that
Yeah.
I've actually communicated with them in that 25
Hmm.
years, right? And so we also have to be fair with the standards that we place on people, because this is someone I hold near and dear to me, and we'll check in like once a year. He lives across the country. He was like somebody I was introduced to very young in my life as a executive at a big company. And so I would always just check in with them. Hey, I'm doing this now. Hey, I'm doing that. And, we would see each other sometimes at industry events. And so I don't have any negative feelings about this person. And like I said, we probably have not seen each other or talked to each other 25 times in 25 years. On the flip side of that, I retired from dating because I would be allegedly in intimate personal relationships with men who felt like they had no need, reason, or obligation to communicate with me. So then it's like, now I'm not somebody that needs to talk to you every day. or all day, And so if I notice I haven't talked to you, and my friends will even say, if you notice you haven't heard from your boyfriend, it must have been about a month, because I'm not hunting you up every day. So because of that, not just the
Hmm.
expectation, but just, hey, if you are actually trying to be in communication with someone, build a relationship, build a rapport, depending on if it's a friend, if it's a business associate, if it's, a podcast partner, there's time before we launched this podcast. We spent time talking to each other. We spent time, getting to know each other. And I think that's required. Now, some of my best friends, we're not required to talk to each other a certain amount of times to qualify as best friends, right? We talk to each other when we talk to each other. We don't apologize.
But I believe you're best friends. I believe you're best friends because the work has already been done and proven.
Right.
And so the expectation of you needing to keep up with anything is not as strong. But I think when you're building new relationships, there needs to be a pattern of consistency so that I know what I have in this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because while I don't think it's fair to set too high of expectations, I think relationships are developed, and the evidence of what degree of this relationship and its meaning is predicated on how you have shown up, what the pattern of your show upness. And I just don't I think, you know, we definitely need to make certain that we realize the world doesn't revolve around us. Everybody's got crap too. Everybody's hurting too. Everybody's being pulled some way or another as well. So understand that it's not always about you, but don't eliminate yourself from having value in the equation of life, because you too deserve honor and deserve respect as well. I say to every listener, don't be a perpetuator of the inconsistencies if you can help it. Now, if you've got a turbulent life that does not allow you to show up or whatever, especially if you're in relationship with a friend, share that. Communicate that. It helps, because a lot of times that friend can show up for you in a different way that could probably serve y'all's relationship better had they had the information that you communicated. Hey, it's a rough week for me. I'm not going to be able to do too much communicating.